Morning, Bridge. Um, it's a sunny day to look out the kitchen window, and a sunny day to look out the kitchen window always helps reflection. And I'm reflecting on you and the two rich tea biscuits I've just eaten, um, because I think I've learned a bit more about you recently. Some of your social media posts have talked about your own history, your own past, your own childhood, and you've said about disadvantaged children who grow up on streets like I grew up on. And we're really beginning to see, I think, where this process is going and where it's come from and what your desire is. And for me, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And I see your motivation. And your motivation is based on your experience, it's based on your childhood. You talk about the street that you grew up on, your lived experience. And you've polarized a very small group of children and related your experience to them, and then used that to want to radically change an education system on every level, be it through the education bill, be it through VAT. You want to change it so that your lived experience never has to be lived again. And I see why you're doing that. The problem with that is your interpretation of your lived experience is exactly that. It isn't theirs. My mum grew up on a council estate, and she achieved the amazing things she achieved because of it. You say in spite of. She says because of. You assume that by growing up on a street like yours, that's a negative. It was for you. You say it was for you. But was it for your neighbours? Was it for your neighbours' kids? Because that's just your perception. So we talk about not wanting a child to ever go through that again. What about the child that went through that and had a positive experience? Because it can happen, Bridget. Just because it's not your norm doesn't mean it's not their norm. Just because you weren't comfortable with it doesn't mean they're not comfortable with it. And when you start to shape everybody to one view, that's when you have real problems. You speak passionately about wanting to protect children from going through that, yet the pain that you're wanting to protect them from, you're willingly inflicting on another group to make it happen. So the direct correlation there is either VAT or stopping parents' choice. Parents know best for their children. Teachers know best for their classes. You are using your experience of what Bridget Phillipson's childhood was like as the blueprint, and it's not. It's just Bridget Phillipson's experience of what childhood was like. Now, for you, I read that that wasn't a positive experience, and I am sorry for that. Does that mean that you can radically overhaul a system that works for so many because your experience wasn't good and because you can't see that you're trying to rewrite history? It's done. The street that you grew up on shaped the girl that went to Oxford University, who is now the education secretary. Because of. Not in spite of. Because of. You can't write other people's stories. They are theirs to tell. You can learn from other people's stories, and you can reflect other people's stories. But by trying to write the end chapter to suit everyone, you're turning it into a horror story. And I don't know if this will resonate with you. I don't know whether this is way too left field for anyone to get their head round. Maybe. But when I reflect, looking out at the birds, and I take a minute, I can't unsee it. You are trying to rewrite your own history, and the characters you're using are today's children, and they don't want to be part of your play.